Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm doing a sit down video today to share 5 of my current favorite summer reading recommendations for you. I previously shared a summer reading guide a year or so ago, and I will link that below as well as show you it on the screen if you want to go back and get some more recommendations. These are some of the books that I think I don't see very many people talking about as far as reading recommendations go. I'm only doing 5 recommendations today so that it is not an overwhelming list, and each one is a different genre or category. So I think that anybody that is watching this could get something from this video. Summer is such a nostalgic time for me for reading. I grew up going to the library and always doing the summer reading programs and seeing how many times I could put my name in the drawing to win a prize. I don't know if I ever actually won a prize, but it was still just such a fun nostalgic thing for me. And so summer, even though it's not one of my favorite seasons, it's one of my favorite seasons specifically for reading. And so I'm just really excited to talk to you about these books. Now the first one that I'm going to share with you, I actually haven't finished, but I'm probably going to finish it today or tomorrow. That is The Shippers by Catherine Center. This is the epitome of a fun summer rom-com, which I don't read a ton of rom-coms to begin with, but I am just eating this up. I think she does a great job of giving characters substance while still being a fun, lighthearted read. One of my qualms with romance in general is when they don't have substance. Like, I need a reason to care about the characters. I want to believe them. I want them to feel like real people. The characters are walking through some stuff, but she still somehow manages to write these things that they're working through in a way that is funny and approachable, and you walk away with a smile on your face. I have laughed out loud so many times with this book so far, and I definitely recommend for your summer reading. The main couple in this book are on a cruise ship for her sister's wedding. So it's like a pre-wedding family cruise honeymoon situation, and it is such a fun environment for reading a summer book, and I think that you're gonna love this one if you love romance especially. Next, I have Fairy Tale by Stephen King. This is my fantasy recommendation. This is a really good intro to fantasy. I read this last summer, having a lot of fun memories reading this by the pool. I think that it's a good intro for fantasy if you're like me and you're kind of new to the genre, because it starts off in the real world. The main character finds a portal to another world, basically, and he goes on this mission for saving Earth. Basically, that's what it is. It kind of feels like Brothers Grimm fairy tale-esque, so it's a good like summer adventure fantasy story, but kind of on the grim side, and I have really enjoyed this, and I don't see very many people talking about it, so I recommend this one if you want something different for fantasy but not having to get into a whole series. It's just a standalone. Next is my historical fiction recommendation. That is Salt to the Sea. One of the quotes on the back of the book says, "The forgotten tragedy that was 6 times deadlier than the Titanic." I had no idea that this even happened. Technically this takes place in winter, but because it has to do with a ship and being on the sea and all those kind of things, I think this would be a really good kind of quick historical fiction for the summertime. It says, "As thousands desperately flock to the coast in the midst of the Soviet advance, 4 paths converge, vying for passage aboard the Wilhelm Gustloff, ship that promises safety and freedom." So they're trying to escape where they are because it is not safe for them anymore, and this takes place in winter of 1945, so kind of towards the end of World War II. Really enjoyed this, and I feel like I learned a lot, which is one of my favorite reasons for reading historical fiction, is because I enjoy learning as I'm reading these novels, and so I learned a lot while I was reading this. I think it'd be great for summer. Okay, next is a recent read. It is A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. This book takes place mostly during the summer in Brooklyn of 1910-ish, early 1900s. This book was so beautiful, and this is a very approachable, if you're kind of wary of reading classics because of old language or you feel like you're not going to understand it, this is such an approachable read. It does have heavy topics and it is not a lighthearted book at all, but it's approachable as far as how it's written, and you really kind of understand what's going on. Not to mention that the prose is just stunning. There were so many times I was underlining. It is very pointed and concise in the way that it's written. It's not super flowery, but it still somehow feels magical and immersive in the way that it's written. This is a coming of age story. The main character, Francie, is growing up in the slums of Brooklyn in the early 1900s, and it's kind of just the world through her lens. We also get backstory of her parents and even her parents' individual families, and so you kind of get a well-rounded view of this family in general and also the people that they're living beside in the slums of New York. This is such a beautiful book, but it is definitely for people that kind of want to see a different perspective and want to feel maybe challenged. This was a challenging read for sure, and I actually learned a lot. This is not technically historical fiction, but I learned a lot about early 1900s, specifically Brooklyn, New York, and I am recommending this as one of my favorite reads of all time, but also one of my favorite summer reads especially. And my final recommendation is a kind of lighthearted mystery thriller, which I believe is perfect for the summertime. It is We Solve Murders by Richard Osman. This is the same author that wrote the Thursday Murder Club, which I really enjoy, but this is his new series. I really enjoyed this one a lot. It follows two main characters. One of them is Steve. He is a retired investigator, detective type person. He lives in a quiet little town. He kind of keeps himself, and he does occasional investigative things, but not fully in the job anymore. And then his daughter is in private security, and she's across the world currently protecting this really famous movie star, I believe it is. She gets in a situation where someone's trying to kill this movie star. She's trying to protect her. She doesn't really know what to do, so she calls the only person that she trusts, which was her dad. And both of them get involved into this worldwide scheme. It's way more than you think it is at the beginning of the book, and one of the reasons I think this is great for summer is that there's a lot of travel and descriptions of different places in the world. It's literally a world travel book as they're trying to investigate this huge scheme that is going on, and I won't say too much. I think one of the most fun aspects of this is actually not knowing and kind of having to figure it out as you go along with the characters. This is such a fun one. I think you're gonna love it for the summertime. As a bonus, I thought I would share with you 3 books that I personally am hoping to read this summer. I don't usually make TBRs because I'm a mood reader and I can never stick to them, but I have set aside a stack of books that I would like to try to read this summer, and I'm only going to share 3 of them with you. But one of them is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. I have only heard good things about this, and since the show came out, I heard some people really liking the show as well, even if they haven't read the book. I just finally broke down and bought it because I've wanted to read it, and I think having it on my shelf is just my motivation to pick it up. Not to mention the cover feels very summery to me, and I'm really excited to get to this one. Next is a classic. It's I Capture the Castle. This is by Dodie Smith, and I actually read this in high school via audiobook, and I remember loving the book, and I would really like to read it with my eyes. So after reading A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, it kind of made me want to read more modern, not modern, but classics that were written closer to time. I think that this was written in 1948. So it actually was written a couple years after Tree Grows in Brooklyn, and I think I'm just really gonna like this as an adult especially. I don't even know if it's technically a summer book. I can't remember too many of the details of it, which is another reason I'd like to reread it as an adult. And then next is a fun little book. It's a love story by Annabelle Monaghan. I loved Summer Romance last year. That was my first Annabelle Monaghan book, and I'm excited to get this one. This one I think she published last year, so I've kind of been hanging on to it, kind of been saving it. Kind of books are really good for me when I just need something light and quick, and if I'm busy and just don't have the mental space to read something heavier. And so I usually can read these in a couple of days, and I just love having something like this on my docket. Those are 3 books that I hope to read this summer, and these are 5 books that I recommend for you to read this summer. And let me know if you end up reading any of these, or if you already have read them, what you thought of it. I would really love to chat in the comments with you. Thanks so much for watching. Bye friends.